Bonjour tout le monde. We're going to look today at the three auxiliary verb forms for the perfect tense, which also match the same as the pluperfect tense. We're going to look at how they're related so that you can have much more instant recall in your conversations when you want to say I have or I had. If you know anybody who would like to learn this, please share. Pense à partager. On s'y met? L'auxiliaire. So first, what is an auxiliary? Well, think of it as a support team, something that helps the tense become I had or I have. So it's the word that helps. So for example, I have eaten, I had eaten, the have and the had, they change. And we're going to look at how that happens because that's the auxiliary so that you can choose the right one when you're speaking. So let's look at je mange, I eat. That's a simple tense. I eat, je mange. But j'ai mangé is made of two parts, the j'ai and the manger. Similarly, j'avais mangé is I had. So the have and the had, they show up like this, j'ai and j'avais. But the manger is still eaten, so that stays the same. These are compound verbs, and that is a simple verb. Je mange, just the je and the mange part. Here you've got j'ai. Now it's the j'ai part and the j'avais which help you change the sense from have to had. They are auxiliaries. So what is an auxiliary exactly? So I have and I had are auxiliaries, which also means I haven't and I hadn't are part of the auxiliary system, but in the negative or the not form. So if you want to say I have or I haven't, or I had or I hadn't, the first part is always going to look like that in English. And that's worth remembering because whether you say I have, or I had, or I haven't, or I hadn't, the past participle is just popped on the very end. So then comes the next part. And all you have to do is ask three simple questions. Is the verb reflexive? For example, se lever. If yes, you're going to use a reflexive starter. For example, je me suis, or je ne me suis pas, like I just said, or je m'étais, or je ne m'étais pas. So I have, or I had. I have, I haven't, I had, I hadn't. They're all there lined up for you. Here they are. I have, I had, as well as hadn't and hadn't. So if it's a reflexive verb, stop there and use those auxiliaries. However, if it's not, go to the next question. Is it an être verb? Well, you might think, what are they? So I'm not here to teach you them all. I'm just presenting them, so it saves some time. So you have je suis, je ne suis pas, or j'étais, or je n'étais pas, a bit like the other one, without the personal pronoun in between. And there's the I have bit, and there's the I had bit, with its negative, have and hadn't. And here are the verbs that you need that go with just these. Now, in my book, if it's reflexive, it's easy to stop there. It's easier to remember that than try and remember all the avoir verbs on the planet. This is a fixed group, so that's really helpful if you eventually memorize those. Just take one at a time though. So if it's not reflexive, and it's not an être verb, it's an avoir verb, which is the rest of the French language. Here they are. Same as the English. I have and I had. I haven't and I hadn't. So they're the ones that translate directly. Interestingly, okay, there's I had. When you put them all together, they still all mean I have, I haven't, I had, and I hadn't. Now, it really matters in the application of these. The more you speak, the more you practice, the more you realise, oh, it's not j'ai, it's je suis. It's one of those je suis verbs, an être verb. Or it's je me suis. At first, I mean, it takes all year in school to get your head around these because you normally start with the avoir verbs. But if you start with the smaller groups first, you can eliminate them quicker. So you just learn the system, which is easier. And if you make a mistake, it really doesn't matter. The first port of call is communication. If someone's understood you and you say, for example, have you understanded? We kind of understand. We're not going to be unkind. You're going to probably be corrected. And that is where the knowledge is just stuff until you're applying it and people feed back to you. So that's where the real magic happens. That's what happens when you get smart feedback. And we have live feedback in our Conversation Cafe communities, in our coaching sessions. It all happens. You do learn smarter. If that interests you, hop into simplyfrenchonline.com/cafe, because that is where the application of the knowledge happens, and someone is feeding back to you with from a French native for your pronunciation, from a French teacher for your grammar, the syntax, the word order, the actual vocabulary, the idiomatic expressions. This community of people is there to serve you, to help you speak French confidently. Merci beaucoup. Merci à tout le monde. À la prochaine.